Y'all ready to work? Yes, sir. All right, good. Let's wake up now. It's time.
Your stepping down kind of caught them by surprise. So, can you kind of tell us what went into your decision to step away from coaching right now?
Many of these early offers are what they call contingency offers, meaning the offer is contingent on certain things happening down the road, like a corner growing 1.5 inches.
Let's not undersell this thing. A lot of coaches use this as a recruitment tool. I've lost several players because of 7-on-7, and that's fine. You know, kids choose where they want to go, but at the same time, that wasn't the intent of doing 7-on-7.
Welcome to Football Focus Weekly. I'm the Pep Man, Matt Maher. We're going to get it kicked off with Pep Man's Players. Our show is sponsored by Victory Chevrolet, where $19 down delivers any new or pre-owned vehicle. Make sure you visit victorychevycharlotte.com today to check out their inventory. All right, starting it off, I was able to cover 3 games last week because of all of the different schedule changes and such. So first game covered was Country Day at Cannon School in Concord. And defensive back Max Somerville had a really strong game with 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 in that big win. Where's number 21? I thought he was a very impressive player. He's also leading the state in interceptions this season with 7. So great job, Mac. Continue to do a really good job for a Country Day Buccaneer team who is sitting at 4-3 on the season now. Also from Country Day, we have running back Sam Jacobson, who had 2 touchdown runs and a touchdown catch in that same victory. I was really impressed with his game overall. He's not the biggest young man. He's about 5'7", about 160 pounds, but he runs the ball very well. Matter of fact, his first carry of the game was a 65-yard touchdown run. So he has really good speed, good vision, and obviously he can catch the ball at the backfield and make players miss downfield as well. So it's a really strong performance from him. And I was able to check out East Mac and Garinger this past Monday night. We had a lot of great highlights and pictures from that game and a couple of interviews, including with that young man, James Bailey III, who had 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in that victory. If it was a big play, James Bailey III was one of the main guys that was making that big play. Good size, good speed, can do a lot of different things on the receiver and the safety position. And then East Mac's quarterback, Adam Owen, very talented young man. He had 3 touchdown passes and a touchdown run in that victory. He's only a sophomore, so he's going to continue to get better as time goes on. And I'm going to check the audio because people say they can't hear me. So let's check the settings. All right. It looks like it's going through. Send me a message if you guys can hear me because it looks good on my end. All right, well, I'll keep talking. All right. Our next young man is the gentleman pictured to the right there in the screen, running back Curtis Clark from Mallard Creek. He had a touchdown run and a punt block touchdown in their victory. I covered that game on Saturday against Hopewell. That was homecoming night for Mallard Creek. They were very impressive in that game. It was a 50-0 victory. Also starring was defensive lineman Chaz Knox from Mallard Creek. He had an impressive overall defensive line play in that victory, wears number 90. Gets off the ball very well. Hopewell was trying to double team him, and he was splitting double teams and still getting in the backfield and causing havoc. So he was a very, very good player overall, and I'm committed to Elon and doing a great job for the Mavericks this season. All right, some more Pep Man's players going across the state now. Defensive back Jaleel Bryant from Ashley High School had an interception, 2 caused fumbles, and a pass breakup in their victory this past week. Congratulations to Jaleel, athlete in Major League. I've highlighted him before. He's up at Lake Norman Charter. He had another big game, 6 catches, 152 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. A lot of people don't know this, but Lake Norman Charter is undefeated on the season. And, they're doing a really good job. I believe it's Coach Montroy, who was former defensive coordinator at South Meck, is up there as the head coach. And, they're definitely under the radar, but, doing a really good job this season. Defensive end Zion Morrison from Scotland had a big game with 9 tackles, 2 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles in their win, committed to North Carolina A&T. He's a very talented young man. I saw him up close at a camp, and he's really, very personable young man to talk to as well. Quarterback Jackson Bird from Cleveland High School, 20-26 for 323 yards and 2 touchdown passes, and another 2 touchdown runs in their victory. Cleveland is on the eastern side of the state. They'll be a contender, in the playoffs when we get to that point. Defensive back Jaquarius Fields from Providence had an interception, 7 tackles, and 2 tackles for loss against Butler. Providence didn't pull that game out, but they got a big game coming up this week against Mooresville. We're going to talk about in a little bit, and he'll be an important piece in trying to slow down a talented Mooresville offense. Linebacker Emmanuel Bea from RGKL had a big game, 10 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 3 pass breakups in their victory. Big victory over Ballantyne Ridge. RGKL is in a race in a wide open SOMEC conference that we'll talk about in a little bit. It is really interesting, to see how that conference is shaping up. Linebacker Evan Batts from Topsail High School, 10 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks in their win. Great job to Evan and those guys down on the coast. All right, got a few more. And linebacker Tanner Finnerty from Mooresville, 9 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a pick 6 in their big victory. And as I said, Mooresville is going to play Providence this week in a big non-conference game. A little late in the season, but it's a good game that we're going to be at, by the way. All right, this is a little 8-man football action. We don't ever talk about 8-man football. It's definitely got some differences. And wide receiver Latavius Moore from John Paul II Catholic had a really strong game. 135 yards rushing, 101 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns in their win. I encourage you to check out the highlights. It is it looks similar in the box, but we don't have any like receivers split out. It's kind of like arena football in a way, sort of. It was really cool to look at. Quarterback Brody Norman from Mooresville, he broke his school record with 5 touchdown passes in their game, in their big win. Like I said, excited to see those guys up close this Friday night. Visited Brody, had a nice interview with him in the preseason, and he's having a really strong season this year. I know that's exciting for Blue Devil fans. Defensive back Kedrian Crump from Richmond had an interception, a fumble recovery, and 6 tackles in their victory. And Richmond getting a big win over Pinecrest. It's got the Richmond faithful excited. Pinecrest was considered one of the favorite teams down in the Fayetteville Sandhills kind of area that week, or this season, I'm sorry. And Richmond is showing well. Coach Brad Denson, he's a former Raider, and he's got those guys fired up and playing some good football for sure. All right, quarterback Trey Blakeney from Huff had 4 touchdown passes and a touchdown run in their big victory over Chambers, 58-3. We're going to talk about it in the next couple slides, but Huff has moved up to number 1 in the CMS Best to Last Power Rankings. They were our preseason number 1, and outside of that 1-point loss to Northwestern in week 1, they have been very, very impressive all year long. Running back Jake Anderson from Charlotte Catholic. Shaquan covered this game for us on Saturday against Independence, and he said that Jake Anderson was a workhorse, and he definitely was. Those 95 rushing yards came on 31 carries, but he also had 2 touchdowns in that big win for Catholic over Independence, and that gives them a good spot in the conference race for a potential conference title. But as we look at where teams are ranked later on, Butler is still a major factor in that conference as well for a potential conference championship. And then finally, defensive back Bryant White for North Mecklenburg. He had 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 in North Meck's big victory last Wednesday over Harding. Bryant White, I saw him up close when North Meck played Olympic a few weeks back. He's only a sophomore, but he's very athletic. He's very fast. He is a ball hawk that can really get it done in the defensive secondary. So congrats to all those players. Once again, if you feel like you had a great game, or if you're a parent and your son had a great game, or a fan and they had a great game, shoot us the stats, their name, film if you have it, and we'll check them out. And if we feel like they deserve the love, we'll put them on Pet Man's Players right here on Football Focus Weekly. Once again, sponsored by Victory Chevrolet. All right. You may be wondering, why is it just me on this screen? Well, I will get to that in just a minute. Let's get through a lot of comments here, and I appreciate you guys sharing these comments. First of all, our Clover guy, Armani Bird, huge game on Friday against Northwestern. Yeah, they don't get much bigger than that. And I'll address Western North Carolina in a little bit, but absolutely thoughts and prayers to all of our friends and fans in Western North Carolina. There's definitely a select few that watch the show. I think about our Robbinsville fans, Far West North Carolina sports, who comments and also provides information on the show on a regular basis. So yeah, it's a tough time. It was a tough time, and like I said, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Good evening, Miss Belk. Adam told me he met you for the first time, and that was pretty cool. And I still owe you a CFI shirt. I promise I'm going to get it to you. Coach Haberkamp, thanks for watching, man. Appreciate that. Good evening, Miss Smith Roberts. Appreciate you watching. Chat administrator giving us a live update. Hickory leading North Lincoln 27-10. That was a game we previewed last week, and a game that was moved several times because of circumstances with the weather. And they are now playing on Wednesday night, which is part of the reason why I'm kind of by myself. We have, if it's your first time watching, we normally have a panel of coaches and former coaches and, all kind of people associated with high school football on the show. But tonight, everyone kind of has something going on. If I went through all of it, it would take me another 2 minutes. But long story short, I am here by myself, which is very rare throughout the 6 years of Football Focus Weekly. I don't typically do many solo shows. The last one I can remember was, I think it was a day before Thanksgiving 2 years ago. And it was pretty cool because when I started doing this stuff, I started doing it by myself. And we didn't have this platform. It used to be, I would record it and record each game separately and then upload it separately to YouTube and then share the links out. It was a very, very time-consuming thing to do it that way. But now we have this medium, and it's a lot easier and more efficient. Let's see. Well, one of the guys that is not here is Coach Tatum. But we want to shout out his running back, Cameron Kelly, who's number 5 rushing yards in the state. Last week he had 35 carries for 256 yards. Wow. And 2 touchdowns. What a game. That's getting it done. That's a workhorse right there. That's an absolute workhorse. All right. So tonight is going to be kind of similar to what we do on Friday Night Live. I would love for you to flood your comments in. I'm going to follow the same format, but you guys can drive this show tonight. If you ever wanted to really be showcased, tonight is your night to be showcased because, hey, it's just me and you. It's us tonight. All right. Jonathan Mitchell saying good evening. Good to see you. Good to see you, Nikisha, as always. Absolutely. Jason McCrory, the RG Kill fan, who I do have predictions. I will do predictions, and it's just gonna be me. So I guess I gotta wear whatever I choose. So all right, buckle up. Here we go. Let's get it back to this, and we're gonna go on. So we're gonna get into our ranking updates with the Dirty Dozen and CMS Best to Last. Panel discussion will be, you guys are the panel. I will discuss it with you tonight. We got two things that we're going to discuss that are prominent in the news. So it will be an interesting discussion. I'll go through some week 7 game previews. We got 3 games we're going to look at. And then I'll do game predictions and slime time. I guess I'll probably end up sliming myself. So that's what we got on the show tonight. And I appreciate that. Hey, this is throwback for me. This is a reminder of what it used to be like many years ago. And like I said, Friday Night Live is similar to this, but it'll be more kind of topical tonight. So we'll be good, trust me. Thank you, chat administrator. Yeah, I think you guys are going to use this tonight. You got to use it tonight. What's coming up? What's up, Mr. Dudley? Hey, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Let's see here. We got another shout out for Cal Forster from the Cabarrus Stallions. Oh yeah, he was a Batman player last week. Okay, 171 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns in their victory. All right, good deal. Good job, Cal. All right, so here is the Dirty Dozen. Once again, we're sponsored by the Queen City Senior Bowl. It was just announced today that October 12th will be the last day that the Queen City Senior Bowl will be accepting player registrations. Make sure you go to queencityseniorbowl.com. Eligible seniors, fill out your form. It takes less than a minute, maybe 30 seconds, okay? You have to enter your information in order to be considered, okay? The biggest thing when you put your information in is to have your huddle on there, okay? Every single player is reviewed, and if you don't have a huddle, it's going to be hard because we try to reach out to somebody to ask, about who you are, but huddle makes it a lot easier. So make sure you submit that. And praise his name, I do have some help. When you can't count on nobody else, there's the producer.
There you go, man. Just thought I'd drop by, fresh from the gym, feeling good. Figured I'd come in here and interject some personality to the show.
Well, it's much needed tonight.
I came, you know what? I was like, let me come in and provide not only audio but video as well. Like you can see me.
Video is a great thing when it's accented by audio. It really is. It enhances the conversation.
Exactly. Video is
really does.
CFI provides a complete experience, and I'll leave it at that.
All right. So once again, here's the Dirty Dozen. The biggest change, of course, with Charlotte Catholic defeating Independence. Independence goes down to number 5, and Charlotte Catholic moves up to number 10. Not too much movement otherwise. Of course, Huff, Mallard Creek, and Providence, they all move up as a result of Independence dropping down. J.M. Robinson and Monroe stay where they are along with West Charlotte. Did move Mooresville up a spot. I thought they had an impressive win. And then Charlotte Christian drops 3 spots, but they're still a really good team. And then knocking on the door is South Point, Lake Norman, Olympic, and Sun Valley. So, let's see here in the comments. Chat administrator says he doesn't see many issues with the list. Lake Norman is looking more and more impressive as the year goes on. Freshman quarterback has looked great. Yep. Freshman quarterback's name is Caden Kraft. He is a 6'5" freshman quarterback. So, that's going to be a name that you're going to hear a lot.
6'5" freshman.
Yes.
Was he going to be a 7-foot tall quarterback for us all said and done?
And he's starting as a freshman on top of that. Shea Kwan went up to Lake Norman on Monday. Highlights from that game will be coming soon, by the way. But he just, was really impressed overall with Lake Norman, especially Moses Morris at running back, number 9. He's a very talented young man as well. Let's see here. This is about the Queen City Senior Bowl. The biggest thing with the Queen City Senior Bowl is you have to be able to get to practice during the week. There are 4 practices during the week, Monday through Thursday of bowl week. So they have to be able to drive to practice and back home. It's not a thing like the East-West game where the kids come and stay at a hotel or anything like that. That's why it's more regional. I've had that question, a couple times. And, at some point, hopefully the bowl game can grow into something where residency could be provided. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword because if you're providing residency, then you have to, try to get kids to be able to be excused from school for a couple of days. And, you don't want to take away from the educational experience, So, yeah, that's a long answer to your question. You don't have to be from Charlotte, but you do have to be able to practice, get to practice and go back home. So, a good question. Let's see here. J-Man, I got something for you. I'm glad you're here. Stick around, J-Man, but it's good to see you. A Black says we're sleeping on Mallard Creek secondary. They can play zone and man.
I'm not sleeping on him. I'm not sure who he is. I'm not.
Well, we were there Saturday, and
Right.
We got a lot of pictures of Mallard Creek, highlights, interviews. Who are we sleeping on? Let us know, A Black. Let us know. Let's see. Mooresville should definitely be top 5 on this list. Chat administrator, is that your second account?
Yeah. That's the burner.
No, I know who that is. I'm messing with him. And I mean, the outside of the Reagan game, they've been dominant. But when you have the Reagan game thrown in there, it makes you, wonder, if they're playing against those level of opponents, how would they fare? So, them playing Providence this week, it's going to be interesting. Providence has played, Charlotte Catholic tough. They actually had to lead over Charlotte Catholic for 2.5 quarters 2 weeks ago. So that'll give us a better gauge on where Mooresville is in the overall pecking order of things here. Let's see. Ronnie Price says, really hate Independence loss. Expect them to go undefeated. Looking at the game highlights, yeah, Catholic. That Catholic is physical. They've said it from the start of the season. They're back to their roots at the wing tee. They're going to pound the football, run it. And then when they got behind, they have a really good quarterback in Charlie Smith that can make special throws down the field like you saw in that game. There was a 3rd down throw that he made to his receiver that was incredible. He was under pressure. He puts it about 40 yards downfield, and receiver, comes up with an incredible over-the-shoulder catch that sets him up for a touchdown. And wow, it was a great win. That was a great win for Charlotte Catholic, that's for sure. Let's see here.
Is JM undefeated?
I knew that was you. Yeah, J.M. Robinson is undefeated.
So.
Yeah, their biggest test coming up is going to be Northwest Cabarrus in their conference. But I think, right now going into I think they'll go undefeated in the regular season and get into the playoffs, and then we'll see what happens from there. Let's see here. All right. I'm speaking from previous shows. It's all about Huff secondary. Well, it's funny because the Huff people tell me I don't talk about them enough. So, I've written about Mallard Creek secondary a lot. Nasor Ashinafi, very talented corner. I believe he committed to Western Carolina. And Brandon Rose, the safety's committed to Coastal Carolina. Just those two off the top of my head are both very talented players in the Mallard Creek secondary. So, but Huff secondary deserves it too. I mean, all 4 of those guys, are committed to play college football, to my understanding. So, it's not one. It's not dissing one to push up the other one. I think both teams are very good, and the way it's looking right now, that's going to be one of the games of the year coming up in a couple of weeks in the Queen City Conference, and then overall in Charlotte especially. And then speaking about overall in Charlotte, we got an update on the CMS Best to Last power rankings. This is the Week 7 update. And as I put it out on social media earlier today, but Huff moves into the number 1 spot. I thought they were dominant over Chambers in a 58-3 victory. And of course, we saw Mallard Creek, dominate Hopewell 50-0. So I think both of those teams definitely, deserve to move up. And, I think they're the 2 best teams in CMS right now. And arguably, you could say they're the 2 best teams in Charlotte, right now. And then A Black is saying that they're playing on October 18th. So, we'll probably be there because I haven't seen Huff yet. And, I think that's a great time to see him. It's definitely a great time to see him.
And not skipping ahead, but I want to give a shout out to Coach Simmons and Palisades. I believe this is the highest they've ever been in this list. So shout out to them and the work and progress they're making over there.
Absolutely, man. Getting a big win over Myers Park last week, 20-15. They're in a good spot. They're 2-0 in the SOMEC. They got an important game this week coming up against South Mecklenburg. But they're in a good spot to potentially win the SOMEC conference. Olympic is undefeated in conference. They had a bye last week. And it's funny, those 2 are major rivals, Olympic and Palisades, and it could come down to those 2. Audrey Kell will still have something to say about it, for sure. Very talented team. Looks like they're getting their stuff together. So really, those 3, I think, are really, in a good position. But you can't sleep on South Meck. South Meck has played some tough teams to start the season. But they got a win over Berry last week, their first win. And then if you guys remember, and you may not, but I'll tell you, last year, South Meck got off to a similar slow start, but then, they really picked it up toward the end of the year. And they almost knocked off Myers Park in the season finale for them. So, Coach Joe Evans and those guys, they really get it going. And once they get locked in, they are a tough team to beat. So, I'll be watching that South Palisades game this week to see how that goes for sure. We got more in the comments. Jonathan Mitchell says October 18th, get there 2 hours early. Oh, it's at Huff. Oh, gosh. I'm going to have to leave like 4.
Man, 4.
The traffic going up there is crazy.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's really crazy.
Oh, man. Good gracious. Yeah, that's going to be like old school Mallard Creek Huff times because, you guys have been around a while. Remember when Coach Paul Mary was at Mallard Creek? And, those games were epic. I remember the big game where Huff got out to like a 28-3 lead. And then Mallard Creek came back to win that game. It was like 35-31 or something like that. So there's a history between those schools. It's good to see that rivalry really get, some juice again. Zion Bus Lindsay from Monroe checking in. I'm doing good, man. I hope you're doing well, man. You guys are doing a great job down at Monroe. You really are. And, I think some people, they just assume, and it's a good thing, they assume you guys are going to be great every year. And, that's a testament to what, that Red Hawk program has been doing down there. You guys have got a good game against Forest Hills coming up this Friday. And, I think a lot of people would see you guys as a favorite, but you can't sleep on Forest Hills. There's a lot of talent over there with Jarrell Boulder and those guys. So, keep doing your thing, man.
It's funny you said something about expectations and about people expecting schools to basically be great every year. You could take Mallard Creek, and look at them the last few years. They've only ever dropped off relative to their own standards. They never fell off completely. It was just they set the bar high for so long that they had a run where they were basically state title contenders every year. So people expected that to last, but they never dropped completely off the map. They was just not quite to their own standards, but now they're working back to that. That's all it really is.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's good to see, man, and I'm happy for Coach Tinsley too because there was a lot of stuff that he had to go through. Initially when he took over, because it's tough to follow a legendary coach. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well,
So
the team I saw Saturday, they're contenders. There's no doubt
absolutely.
about it. There's no debate there. They are contenders. They're in the mix.
And I asked Coach Tinsley about the 3 quarterback system, and I really liked his answer, because it really gives them an identity offensively. I started thinking about it. And you know what Mallet Creek reminds me of this year? They remind me of a Charlotte Catholic offensively, because they just pound you with the run. They pound you with the run. They pound you with the run. And then you saw it on one of their early touchdowns. They went play action, a little sail route to the tight end. He was wide open, for a touchdown, easy touchdown. They really remind me of Charlotte Catholic, because when they do spread it out, and they put Evan Rambert in at quarterback, he's more of a thrower. They can throw the quick game stuff, and they get their athletes in space, Khalil Price and Jamal Hayslip and those guys, and they can do some things with the ball in their hands in space. So it's a good system. And
what I got from his answer was,
I
said what I got from his answer when you asked him that question.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the summary I made in my mind was that, hey, it's a bit unorthodox, but it's working and we're winning. That's what what I got from that. It's not common. Absolutely. It's not something you see all the time, but it's working. That's all that really matters.
And then, they got 40 seniors, and you just start thinking about what they've done this year. Just think about where they've gone. They've gone and challenged themselves. They've gone out of state on 2 occasions, won both times. When you have something like that, it just seems like it's one of those seasons that's setting up for something special to happen. So, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes, man. All right. Let's get into a little discussion. And you guys watching, I really want you to weigh in on this. We'll share our opinions, but I really want you to weigh in on these 2 discussion questions. The first one being, what should the state of North Carolina do for the football schedule for Western North Carolina teams? We kind of talked about it briefly at the beginning of the show when Armani had the Clover comment, and then praise went out to the Western North Carolina teams. The devastation is absolutely crazy. It's unimaginable. It's a once in a lifetime thing. And you guys think about this. We just went through a couple years ago COVID, which we thought was a once in a lifetime deal. And now, if you're affected by what's going on in the mountains, and you're just getting out of COVID and trying to get, life back to normal, it's just devastating. I mean, I'll be fully transparent here. My wife, works in the food industry, and she's working to get food up there, to different places that can't get to Asheville, because it's, a lot of the emergency stuff is kind of based out of Asheville, but there are still impassable roads in the mountains that, can't get to Asheville to get help. So that being said, it's a incredibly tough situation. And a lot of people will say, well, high school football shouldn't be a concern, and on the scale of what's important, it's not that, big of a deal. But you still have kids that want to go play college football, kids that need more film to go and show what they can do, kids that, need a distraction of playing football. And you guys know, watching this show, that sometimes football is the only thing some of these kids have. And, without it, who knows what could happen. I think the biggest thing that needs to be a consideration is, what do we do about the playoffs? There's been some precedent where the playoffs have been pushed back by a week. I think North Carolina I think that's easy to do. If they pushed it back a week, championship games will be on December 21st. You're not running into the holidays then. So I think we might get that anyways, because even outside of, Western North Carolina, look at Gaston County, Cleveland County, who was affected here locally. Some of those conference heads are having meetings, and there are some assumptions that the state will at least push the playoffs back by 1 week. So is that enough to help the really downtrodden teams further west? Probably not. There's been some different ideas. There've been some different theories thrown out about playing football in the spring, like the state did with COVID. And this is a major throwback to when some of you older guys will remember that Western North Carolina used to have their own state championship, and it was just for the western part of the state. And then the rest of the state had the normal state championships. So it could be a brief throwback to that if they play the playoffs in the spring. So there's a lot to consider here. Producer, you got any thoughts on that?
A whole lot, man. I mean, I'll kind of lead off kind of what you said. First and foremost, yes, people's lives, their livelihood, that nothing takes precedent over that. Taking care of people who need food and basic necessities. I won't ever sit here and try to say that, athletics is more important than that. However, I don't think we should downplay the importance of football and what athletics means. And like you said, some of these guys' lives, because the reality, and it's a harsh reality for some people, for most football players, high school is the end of the line. More than not. This is it. A lot of kids do go play college, but if you look at every single high school football player, more don't than do as far as college football. This is the end of the line for most players. So, it's disappointing to see that a lot of them either going to have reduced games or maybe their season's over. Who knows? But so that's why it is a big deal. I would never, try to put it above basic necessities for people, but I think it matters more than some people are giving it credit for. I think adding an extra week towards the end of the regular season would at least let kids make up at least one of those games. I know some have already, I think, missed last week and probably gonna miss this week. So there's 2 already, but if you could let them make up that one, that would be a big start. And then maybe, some sort of weighted average, some sort of team, you got to find some system to make it an even playing field between this team that played 7 games and this one that played 10. How do you even that out? You have to come up with some. It's not going to be perfect. Whatever they come up with, people need to, I hope, have some sort of leniency. There's not going to be a perfect solution for that. But I think you got to start with looking at the teams out there who can play eventually, whose stadiums are just done or where they can't play at all, and go from there. But give them some grace, whatever they come up with, because it's not going to be perfect, but whatever they come up with is better than nothing. But I do want to know more about the spring thing. How would that work? Because some people like out our way are going to be able to play their whole season virtually unaffected. So would you have just like a separate short season for them or something like that in the spring, you think?
Yeah, if I think you designate which schools, and this is going to be something that the NCHSAA would have to get into, and I think schools would have an option to where if they wanted to play, say, a Western playoffs and name a Western champion in the spring, then schools would be able to opt into that, or they could opt out. And then if they opt out, then, they would have to be, some type of way of, letting them, if they had the means to play in the current playoffs, they would have to find a way to do that. As far as, how schools will qualify, I think the RPI would be the main deal.
And some kids who's like some teams, I should say, if their stadium is just devastated, they might have to finish the season totally on the road, which is better than not playing at all. If you had to just finish on the road the whole season, it's better than not at all. I mean, it's a slight disadvantage, maybe you could look at it, but I'd rather play all my games the rest of the way on the road than not at all.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's get to some comments here. Let's see. J-Man, first of all, says bigger things to worry about. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think the people that are responsible for football have the duty to, try to figure out a solution. In an emergency situation, you just want everyone to make sure that they're doing their job. And, the NCHSAA, along with the ADs and, head coaches, have a responsibility to, football. So, yeah, that's a good answer. Let's see. Emily Taylor says it's heartbreaking. Lost everything or family members. I will tell you. I have definitely heard from several people that kids are asking about football. I think after once things have kind of settled down over the past few days, kids are naturally going to wonder what's next. And like I said, for some of these kids, this is all they got. Is it right or wrong? That's for other people to decide. But I'm just being real about it. They are curious as to what the solution is going to be. Chat administrator with a good point here. Yeah, travel is a major issue here. I would think by the spring, most of the roads would be able to be open, which is why, that's kind of being floated out as a potential solution. But to that point, I just don't see, in a couple weeks how football could get back to any sense of normalcy, mainly because of this and because of some of the pictures we've seen of damaged schools and flooded schools and stadiums and things like that. It's a lot of logistics that have to be worked out here. But that's definitely a good point. Karen Belk says Rossman, North Carolina lost their baseball field to flooding. Wow. Yeah. I'm definitely Asheville has definitely kind of become the hub for a lot of emergency things at the base of the mountains. So yeah, definitely shout out to that son that's going out there helping rescue people, because some of these pictures and video that have gotten out it's really disheartening for sure. All right, and then Jason McCrory says, yeah, it's going to affect all sports, obviously, and that's why I'm glad that they're seeking out, the NCHSAA is seeking out their opinions, because there is a lot of moving parts here. We talk about football on this show, but there are kids that are talented in all sports, and potential college players in a lot of different things. So that's why it can't be discounted. Yes, there are things that are definitely a lot more important, but this is a discussion that has to be had. It has to be had for sure. All right, so there was some big news that came out earlier this week about NIL. And does NIL being allowed for public schools change the game for players overall? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've seen a lot of different takes online on social media, and the first thing that I really wanted to say is schools are not paying football players. Okay, no school can be involved in directly paying somebody with NIL money. Okay, NIL, and most of this watching this show, but for those that don't, NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. And what we're talking about is a business. Let's just say CFI, Charlotte Football Insiders. If I wanted to pay football players to do something for CFI, it allows me to do that legally. There are thoughts that there are going to be businesses that align with school booster clubs that will set up, kind of like what you see in college. They're like kind of brokers for NIL. I mean, it couldn't happen, yes, but do I think it's going to be some epidemic where businesses are going to be giving out hundreds and thousands of dollars of money to high school kids? Absolutely not. I mean, let's be real about it. Let's think about this. If we are giving money to high school players to endorse something, okay, how much influence is a high school player going to have on promoting a business? Just think about it. Unless he's one of the top players that has a lot of followers and people know who they are, not much influence, right? I mean, we can think about a small town, and a small town says, hey, you know, if you come here and, you know, say, take a picture of my, you know, chicken dinner and say it's the, you know, best chicken you ever had, I'll give you some free chicken. You're going to get more of that than anything.
Been paid in chicken.
You're going to get that kind of stuff. Because I'm going to tell you right now, most small businesses don't have money for that. And your corporations, your bigger corporations, let's say like Adidas or Nike or Under Armour or whoever, they're going to want the big name kids because they want to get associated with that brand early on before they go on to college and do some big things and then maybe go into the NFL. They want to say, you know, we were the first ones to get behind you. That's where it's going to make a difference. We are not going to see a ton of schools, you know, have these kind of broker relationship with businesses to pull a bunch of kids in through NIL. The money's just not there. It's there in college, but think about college. That's a multi-billion-dollar business. High school, you're lucky to make a couple $1,000s. And trust me, I know.
Even then, if you look at college football, only the upper echelon, your big name starting quarterbacks, your, you know, Shedeur Sanders, people like that, big names, very recognizable people, Travis Hunter, those type of people, they're the ones like you can say are quote unquote getting rich off of NIL. Majority of your roster in college football is not getting anything, if at all, from NIL in college. So I think public schools can allow this. Like you said, it's only going to really be there for the top 1% of players, very recognizable, highly recruited, 4 or 5-star players that, you know, really have a name. Those are the kids that'll probably be able to profit and make, you know, what we call significant money. But like you said, a lot of it is going to be, hey, we'll throw you a few dollars and, you know, take a picture with you and hang it up in the restaurant or something like that. It's not going to be a big enough deal to really sway the landscape of high school football in the area. It's just because it's only the select few are really going to profit for it. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't see it like you said. A company's not gonna hand over $50,000 to a wide receiver who catches 2 balls a game. It just is what it is. No. So that's just the reality. So I think they can open it up, let it be there, because at the end of the day, the schools aren't funding this. This is coming from outside companies anyway. They're not hurting anything. I guess where it could be a problem if companies start say, oh, we'll pay you, but we need you to go to this school. That could be a problem. As long as companies aren't trying to influence kids to transfer and, oh, I'll pay you, but I need you to transfer to my alma mater where I graduated, then we can set something up. As long as they're not doing something like that, it's not going to be a big deal. You'll see you make a few dollars here and there. That's it.
And what you just said is what a lot of people think is going to happen. But think about this too. Let's think about, and I'm not going to say any names, but you know there are schools that kids like to go to, okay? I think that's going to still happen. you know, the kids, the schools that are already getting kids into their programs, that's going to continue to happen. It's not going to happen because of NIL, because first of all, a lot of stuff has not been publicized out about this, but if you start reading what's been put out there, and high school OT is doing a really good job about putting information out there. There's going to be paperwork and forms that have to be completed if it's going to be a legal NIL deal. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is any player that wants to be a part of NIL has to take an online course through the National Federation of High Schools. Okay, and then of course they're under 18. The parent or guardian has to also take that course. All right, so there's going to be a lot of regulation behind this. I mean, we're talking about the State Board of Education being involved here. This is not just going to be something where you just, you know, sign your name and you got an NIL deal. No, there's got to be there's a lot of checks and balances that are involved in this process. All right. And now, are there going to be school boosters that get involved in some of these cases? I mean, probably. You might see, you know, maybe one or two schools that, you know, want to test the waters and see, you know, how hard it is or how easy it is to get involved in it. But like you said, producer, it's not a major game changer for the majority. It's definitely not. I'm going to study it myself because, you know, obviously CFI, Charlotte Football Insiders, is directly involved in high school football. And if we have the means to get involved and, you know, show kids what NIL is and, you know, give them a little bit for doing some promotion for us, I might, you know, get involved in it. But I have to study it myself as a business owner and see if it makes sense, you know, for me. Because there could be, you know, limits to it. You know, there could be a monetary, you know, minimum that has to be met. I mean, we don't know. We don't know how the state is going to set it up. And that's going to be a lot of further discussion on down the line. The most important thing is, you know, the judge said it is possible, but, you know, until the order is signed, which is supposed to be happening in the next week or two, you just can't jump in there and take an NIL deal. So I would advise players, this is a legal situation. Make sure you talk to, if your family has an attorney, talk with your family's attorney once the legal paperwork comes out on it, rules and regulations, and, you know, make sure, you know, it makes sense, because you don't want to set yourself up for something that either you can't fulfill or, you know, you change your mind on, and, you know, then the business holds you liable for following through on a, you know, legal agreement. You know, you don't want to get caught up in anything crazy. Okay. All right. In the comments, chat administrator says NIL won't change much of anything. Average athlete will not gain much from it. It's the 1% of the elite athletes that gain the most with it. Yeah. Yep. Exactly what we just said. Lakeisha says had to be a once in a lifetime player. Yeah, well, it's LeBron. Yeah, man. Yeah, LeBron's not getting NIL. LeBron's getting something else. And then Jason McCrory says businesses and schools benefit more when the business sponsor the school athletics. Don't think a kid, yeah. Not many anyway. There could be a couple. We do have some, like, you know, the kid's family that sued the state is a 5-star player at Grinsley High School in Greensboro. So, you know, he would be set up to get life-changing money. You know, Kendra Harrison, you know, they got a quote from him and said if he's able to benefit from it to help him, his family, and his teammates, you know, he's all for it. So, you know, we have some top-level recruits here in North Carolina that can benefit from it, but 1 or 2, maybe 3 at best.
But even if it's not life-changing money, I think a kid should still entertain it. Even if it's a few dollars here, a few dollars there, help your family out, a little something, and all you have to do is, you know, be on a commercial or be on a poster or ad. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the regulations are. Because like I said, you know, if it makes sense for us at CFI to get involved in it, you know, I'll get involved in it. And at the very least, just to show kids what it could look like on the college level. You know, I think it's a good education opportunity. But, you know, we'll have more to come on that. All right, let's jump in. We got 3 game previews. First of all, we got Mooresville going on the road to take on Providence. This is the game that me and producer will be at on Friday night. I believe it's a 7:00 start at Providence. I think most games in Charlotte start at 7. Okay, so first of all, on my notes here, players to watch. The big thing with Providence is this year they've been in games, but in the second half, they just haven't been able to kind of follow through. First of all, going back to the Ardrey Kell game, Ardrey Kell got off to a really good start in week 1 against them, and then Providence tried to turn it on in the second half. It just wasn't enough to pull off the victory. And then earlier I mentioned that Providence was leading that game against Charlotte Catholic for 2.5 quarters until Charlotte Catholic kind of turned it on in the second half, started running the ball really well on them, and they were able to put the game away. So I think for Mooresville, I want to look at see the 2 running backs, Eric Keel and then Jadarius McCombs, J-Man, who, is on the show. He's been a Pet Man player. Yep. I'm excited to see you, young man. See what you can do. But, it's important for Mooresville to run the football because Providence does have a potent passing game with Jackson Deeby, who is my player to watch for Providence, and his fleet of receivers. So running the football and controlling the clock will help keep a dangerous Providence offense off the field. Conversely, for Providence, I expected them to be a really strong offensive team this year, but it just hadn't quite happened yet. So I'm excited to see if they can, get it going on offense, put some drives together, put some points on the board. Because with what Mooresville's been doing the past few weeks, even the game against Reagan, they scored pretty good. So you're going to have to score points, to keep up with them. If they want to pull the upset, their offense is going to have to be, hitting on high octane gas all night long on Friday night. But we're excited to be there. We haven't seen either one of these teams in person yet this season. So it's a big reason why, we want to go check this one out. Producer, you got anything else you want to add?
Well, Mooresville is rolling right now. A very convincing win most recently. So, they're clicking on all cylinders, as they say. Outside of that one loss, they're really rolling. Providence, like you said, had a close one. So I look at this as sort of a test for them, like test themselves. Hey, let's see if we can get back on track and against, a very, very quality opponent. So I feel like it's kind of a prove it game for them in a way.
Absolutely. Chat administrator says Brody Norman versus Jackson Deeby will be a show. I certainly hope so. It'd be nice to have some nice highlights to throw out there.
Is the chat administrator riding down to Charlotte?
He will probably beat us there. He'll be there at like 5 when the stadium opens.
When the security guard is opening the gate, unlocking the fence, he'll be standing there.
Most likely. Yeah, he'll be there. There it is.
Stupid question. I know. Dumb.
We got to get a selfie. It's been 2 years since we had a selfie, so where he's best.
We need to update one.
Trayvon Gaither with an update says Hickory is leading North Lincoln 46-18. Wow. Yeah. Well, North Lincoln being a run team, that's not looking good for them. So looks like Hickory's going to stay undefeated on the season. All right. Now, our second game, which, I had multiple people ask me where we going. But this is a very televised game. It's going to be 900 media people. And usually with games like that, unless it's the playoffs, I try to stay away just because, people act different when there's things like that going on. But East Forsyth is going on the road to take on Mount Tabor in the Winston area. East Forsyth is 5-0 on the season. Quarterback Bryce Breaker, 1,400 passing yards, 15 touchdowns in only 5 games he's committed to North Carolina. They've got two running backs in Murray and Rottweiler with similar yardage running the football. They're both around 300 yards on the ground this year. And then their leading receivers, these guys are both very talented. And James Gilchrist and Jair Richburg. I kind of profiled both of those guys on Prep Red Zone before. And then on defense, their leading tackler is Nathan Stewart. East Forsyth is looking like one of the state title contenders in the 4A bracket. And then Mount Tabor is 4-1 this season. They've only lost to Grimsley 34-12 in week 1. Quarterback Lane Albright has 855 passing yards and 8 touchdowns on the year. They've got 3 different backs over 250 yards rushing, including the quarterback Albright. So, he's a dual threat player. They got some talented guys. Jadon Blair, who's committed to Notre Dame as a defensive back. He's 6'5".
6'5" DB?
Yes.
Man.
Snook Peterkin, only at 6'3", is committed to Virginia Tech as a wide receiver. So there's some high-level talent on the field on Friday night.
Shouldn't be a bunch of jump balls getting caught on them. Just saying.
I don't know. Gilchrist and Richburg. Gilchrist is 6'3" for East Forsyth, and Richburg is 6'4".
Well, yeah. I guess it's maybe so then.
Yeah, the East Forsyth passing game is something to watch, man. Bryce Baker is a special talent. Some people think he's better than the talented young man at Grimsley that I just referenced when we were talking about NIL. And he's a 5-star, Mr. Faison. So that's gonna be a lot of talent on the field. It's gonna be a fun game to watch for sure. And then leading tackler for Mount Tabor is Kamari Shell. He is a defensive back. So Chad Administrator weighing in and says, he's talking about Blair. Yeah, Blair. I had that in my notes too. Him and Peterkin, 6'5" and 6'3". I'm sure Lane Albright enjoys throwing to those guys for sure. But East Forsyth, Mount Tabor. If you don't know where to go Friday, go up to Winston, man. But leave early because that game will be packed. I mean, with a capital P for sure. All right, last game I want to look at is Cuthbertson and Sun Valley. Both of these teams have 1 loss on the season. Cuthbertson's only loss was to Palisades, 14-6. And then Sun Valley's only loss was to Myers Park, 37-14, before Myers Park quarterback has got hurt. If you didn't know that, Myers Park quarterback is out for the season, so they are a totally different team. For Cuthbertson, players to watch, defensive lineman Cole Webster, committed to James Madison. We just saw what James Madison did in North Carolina. Good gracious. They know how to recruit guys like Cole Webster. Incredible burst off the football. He was a MVP at our winter showcase last year. Really, really talented defensive lineman. And then running back Mason Iovino has 627 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns on the season. And I thought this was interesting. In researching this game, Cuthbertson has 19 sacks as a team already this season, so they can really get after the quarterback. And then for Sun Valley, I mentioned him before a couple times, been a Petman player. Running back Zach Cullen, really good young man. Linebacker Brandon Creech on the defensive side of things kind of leads the charge for Sun Valley. And then quarterback Noah Lineberry having a strong season. He's got over 1,000 passing yards and 15 touchdowns on the season already. So a good offensive team against a team that can really run the football and play good defense. So a really, really fun matchup in Union County that's going to open conference play for them. Sun Valley defeated Marvin Ridge last week 21-7. But they played a non-conference game, and then they're going to play again later on in conference play. So this is the conference opener for both of those teams. So should be a good one down in Union County on Friday night. All right. Now, let's go to – this is going to be some fast game predictions. If you're watching, throw your predictions out there too. Let us know what you think. First of all, South Rowan at Central Bears. I think I'm going to go Central Bears get their first win on the season. Coach Bevilacqua and those guys. Producer, what you think?
South Rowan.
Contradicted me, man. I don't like that.
That's why I showed up. That's the goal.
Let's throw in at Northwest Cabarrus. I'll let you go first on this one.
I'm going to go Northwest Cabarrus.
I've seen Northwest Cabarrus up close. I'm going to take Northwest Cabarrus as well. I think it's going to be a good game, though. West Rowan definitely has some players that can do some things. All right. When I started looking at records, Union Academy's having a really good season. They are 4-1. So Union Academy at North Stanley. North Stanley has had an up and down season. I'm gonna take North Stanley because they're at home. If this was on the road, it might be a little different story. What do you think?
I'm gonna go North Stanley also.
All right. Panthers and Bears this week up in the Windy City.
I'm gonna go Red Rifle.
Yeah, me too. I don't think Caleb Williams and the Bears. They got a good defense, but I don't think Caleb Williams has anything right now. Even though our defense is beat up. Injuries everywhere. And I did this one for Coach Dub, but this is really the toilet bowl because these two teams look terrible right now. The Dolphins at Patriots.
I'm gonna go Dolphins just because you still got some weapons. So I'm gonna go Dolphins. I know neither team has really got anything going right now at quarterback, but I'm gonna go Dolphins.
I'm gonna go Patriots, man. I mean, I know they are not good, but Miami just looks it's bad. And it's depressing because, like you said, they have so many weapons, but they just can't get the ball to them.
It's not depressing at all. Watching them is not. It's not. No, it's fine.
Oh man,
it'll be all right. Walk by the trophy case and they'll suddenly be okay. They're fine.
All right, James has Northwest Cabarrus. I know why. Chat administrator has Central, North Stanley, Panthers, and the Dolphins. Okay. Ronnie Price is going with the Panthers. Karen Belk is going with the Panthers. Armani's going with the Red Rifle. All right. There it is. Good stuff. Friday Night Live. Every Friday night, 11:45. Make sure you check it out. It's your show similar to tonight. To be honest with you, whatever you put up is what we'll talk about. We got scores, commentary, interviews, and more. Make sure you come join us at 11:45 on these same outlets. All right. Now it is that time for Slime Time. And producer, who would you like to slime tonight?
I don't like to duplicate my slimes so soon. But I gotta really slime the Florida State Seminoles, man. They look atrocious. A shadow of them former selves. Yes, they lost their quarterback. Yes, they lost a lot of players to the draft and to graduation, but it's still Florida State, man. And what's bad about it, the recruiting talent is there. Their recruiting class, if you look, they're full of 4 and 5 stars every year, and they just look just downright pathetic right now. DJ's basically running a handcuffed offense. They're can't really open the playbook. They're very limited because of his confidence, I guess. So just look pathetic, man. If I had told you, years ago or back in the day that one day SMU would be blowing out Florida State, you would have thought I was crazy. So just a shadow of them former selves right now. So I had to duplicate a slime. I know I slimed them a couple weeks ago, but I had to do it again because they just look absolutely pathetic right now. Not just a down year, pathetic. That's it.
Wow. Man, I got a lot of candidates for slime. But I think I'm going to slime, and Chad Administrator made a reference to it earlier. These restaurants, man, I don't know what we got to do to get better service these days. we took a day trip. And I say me and my wife took a day trip this past weekend, and we got breakfast, messed up the order. Took the day trip, coming back home. We got a late lunch, messed up the order. Then we got dinner, and they messed up that order too. It's like all 3 occasions, man. You know, my wife is a chef. She cooks. So we eat at home a good bit. So some people may say eat at home, but you know, if you're out and about, we'll get something to eat. So I don't know. I think we've increased what we pay these service workers, but just a little more attention to detail, man. That would be nice. Everybody works hard for their money. I just want to get what I'm deserved, man. What I work hard for. A nice couple of chicken wings, just
that would be nice. I mean, unfortunately, that's a theme of the society we live in now. We're asked to pay more and receiving less in return. There's an inverse relationship between what we pay and what we get back. Unfortunately,
shrinkflation, man.
Yeah, I don't know how we stop that, but we're asked to kick out more, paying more money and getting less wings. So that
ain't right. We got to stop that. Karen Belk slimes the Tar Heels for being ahead at the half, losing to Duke. We've had Mac Brown on the show, but yeah, that's
also tough. A team underperforming, not to the level of Florida State, but also a team that's underperforming relative to the talent that's there. In my opinion, anyway.
All right, well, we made it. Next week, I think the panel will all be back, and I can take a much less vocal role, which I appreciate. But producer, I appreciate you being here as always. Everybody be safe. If you see us on Friday night at Providence, say hello. Chat administrator, be ready for our selfie so everybody knows that you're real and not a bot, because somebody actually thinks you're a bot.
Kind of advanced AI.
Oh, good night, everybody.
See ya.